welcome back to another reaction. Today I'm actually going to switch it up a bit and I'm going to be checking out Sweden. Okay, so I'm checking out a video called 15 Things You Didn't Know About Sweden. I will drop a link in the description to the video I'm checking out, so you can check out that channel and subscribe. Let's see if we didn't know these 15 things, or if they're, very common for Americans as far as what we know about you guys. So let me check this out.
This is Travel Tuesdays. Every Tuesday we present you with another incredible country. Today we're looking at 15 things you didn't know about Sweden. Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, welcome back to a new video brought to you by our team here at alux.com. Today we're talking about a very fascinating country that literally embodies
I like how that looks. It
dream.
reminds me of New England in America.
Kingdom of Sweden. With a population of less than 10 million people, Sweden is the third largest country in the European Union, based on its territory. It is still officially a kingdom, although the royal family has a mostly symbolic power in the state. Although most people know it for being the land of Vikings in the past, we have to thank Sweden for many innovative inventions, and frankly, a very sustainable lifestyle as an example. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. We hope you'll enjoy and learn new things from this 15 Things You Didn't Know About Sweden video. Number 1. Swedes pay a lot of taxes.
We know that.
Sweden is notorious for having one of the highest tax rates in the world, which would normally be considered bad, especially in the US. The current tax rate is 51.4% of the GDP, and the country uses a progressive income tax rating system. For example, if you earn more than $72,543 per year, 31% goes to income tax, and your employer also has to pay 25% for social fees. However, Swedes love this about their country, so much so that a tax is called a skatt, which means treasure in Swedish. That is because they receive free education, including 0 university taxes and healthcare, since 27% of taxes are invested in
it's not really free if you're paying
Police
for
and
it
the
in
military
taxes.
get only 5%.
It's just a different way to pay for it.
42% goes to Social Security. Number 2. Swedish fathers get a lot of days off for parental leave. Having a child is stressful enough, and a lot of that stress is finding time off work to care for a newborn. Not to mention that normally, government policies favor maternity leave, meaning that new fathers usually get to spend less time with the children. Well, certainly the Swedish government thinks that this is not okay. Sweden is also a big promoter of gender equality and currently gives 480 days off work to new parents that can split it however they like to care for their child. Actually, the country was the first to allow families to divide the leave, and 390 days of that are subsidized with taxpayer money. Number 3. Stockholm is one of the greenest cities in the world. Sweden is big on ecology, so big, in fact, that its capital, Stockholm, was the first to receive the European Green Capital Award, which is given by the European Union. It also means that the capital is one of the cleanest cities worldwide, giving us an example of what real sustainable living looks like. For example, these buses are fueled with methane from sewage systems instead of oil, and the recycling rate of the whole city is around 90%. There are also a lot of parks, and they've even managed to redevelop an area that was once a toxic industrial site called Hammarby Sjöstad. It now has more than 25,000 people living there who use car sharing, live in green buildings, and benefit from high-tech waste management systems. It's also said that Stockholm will cease using fossil fuel by 2050. Number 4. Sweden is a world leader in terms of innovation. You wouldn't know it today, but Sweden used to be one of the poorest countries in Europe just 100 years ago. It all changed when the country started investing heavily in its infrastructure and, of course, in its people. Sweden has less than 10 million people, but ranks among the highest in terms of global innovation. The stable political climate, high-quality education, and promotion of creative ideas has given the world quite a few successful companies. AstraZeneca, Electrolux, Skype, Spotify,
AstraZeneca
Ikea,
would not be
just to name a few of the world famous
good
businesses
example
that are Swedish. The country is literally driving world innovation.
Spotify is okay. I use a thing called 8 Tracks. I think it's been better.
The H&M magnate is the richest person in Sweden with a net worth of $16.4 billion. Everyone knows H&M, but few people know the company is actually Swedish. The first store was opened in 1947 by Erling Persson and since became a global fashion empire. Erling's son, Stefan, is now Sweden's richest person with a net worth of $16.4 billion as of 2018. He's now the chairman of H&M, lives in Stockholm, and has founded the Mentor Foundation, a non-profit that helps young people who are struggling with substance abuse issues.
That's pretty cool.
The Perssons like to keep business in the family, since his son, Carl Johan, has taken over as the CEO of H&M in 2009. Number 6. Sweden lost out on an $85 billion deal with Norway.
Wow.
Sweden has a great economy and is one of the happiest countries in the world. However, its neighbor, Norway, is way better off, and it's all thanks to the oil. Norway is insanely rich because of its oil and gas resources, which make up 22% of the country's GDP. It is, of course, one of the highest in the world. But in the 1970s, they had mostly no idea how much oil they actually had and proposed an agreement that went like this. They would give oil concessions to Sweden in exchange for lumber and 40% of Volvo, the biggest Swedish company at the time. Volvo shareholders, however, rejected the proposal in 1979, and the deal fell through big time. That same deal would have been worth $85 billion.
I'll tell you what,
today.
Just ask the USA for the money. We're just apparently giving it away to everyone except for ourselves.
$1.5 billion. Number 7. The Nobel Prize for Literature is in jeopardy.
Oh no, that's
Each year,
actually
the prestigious
terrible.
Swedish Academy awards the highly coveted Nobel Prize to the most valuable scientists, writers, economists, and great thinkers of the world. It has had its series of controversial events in the past, but this year they will not award a Nobel Prize for Literature since a shocking scandal has taken over the Academy. It turns out that several women have accused Jean-Claude Arnault, a photographer and husband of a Swedish Academy member, of sexual assault.
Okay, I have to be careful with these things because
several times in the past
that whole movement
Nobel Prize winners prior
is turned
to the
out
official
to be
announcement.
a lie a lot
The
of the
Secretary,
time.
Sarah Danius, has even resigned from her position following the scandal. It seems that
You really
Arnault
gotta
is
wonder,
no
you know what I
stranger
mean?
to controversy. In 2006, he reportedly groped Swedish Crown Princess Victoria at a formal event, according to some news publications. Number 8. Drinking alcohol is highly regulated by the Swedish government. This is something that most people find
We had
shocking
that
about
in the
Sweden.
USA, and
It's a free
it didn't
country
go
in all
over very
respects,
well.
but actually has rules in place that promote certain behaviors for its citizens. In the 19th century, it was legal to make your own alcohol at home, and apparently Swedes drank a lot. So much so that moderate societies started to appear, and nowadays you can actually buy alcohol in supermarkets. Well, only drinks that contain 3.5% alcohol at most. So if you want to throw a party, you would normally go to a Systembolaget, the state-owned liquor store. Oh, and you can't purchase it if you're not 20 years old.
That's not good.
As a consequence, Systembolaget is one of the world's biggest
State-owned is never
spirits
good.
and other alcoholic beverages.
21 years is the same.
Sweden and Finland fight over where Santa Claus lives.
Huh,
On a
that's
lighter
weird.
note, did you know that Santa Claus lives in Sweden? Or no, was it Finland?
Wasn't it the
Believe
North
it or
Pole?
not, this
That's
is a
what
debate that the
Americans
two
have been
countries
always
have,
thought of
and the
our
results
lives.
are inconclusive. That is because Lapland, the magical northern territory of the Northern Lights, amazing sights and reindeer, is actually divided between the northern parts of both countries. Finland
Are you
also
both
has
in,
the
like, the
Santa
North
Claus
Pole?
Village, which you can find Santa's main post office and other attractions. But according to Swedish researchers, it makes more sense for Santa to be in Sweden. The geography
it
department
makes more
at Swedish
sense for him to
University
be in
has
some
used satellite images to calculate
undisclosed
what
place.
would be the mean center of the global population.
Obviously,
Based on that,
I don't believe
a Swedish town called Jokkmokk would be the best location for gift distribution purposes. Number 10. Ikea is the world's most profitable furniture company. Don't lie. You definitely have a piece of furniture in your home that you've assembled yourself, and most likely it's an Ikea product.
Honestly, I've never gotten an IKEA product.
By then 17-year-old Ingvar Kamprad in 1947.
We have different options out here.
World with its Scandinavian chic designs. In 2016 alone, the company had a revenue of 35 billion euro, or $41 billion. Kamprad was also the richest Swedish person and probably the richest in the country's history as well, with an estimated net worth of $58 billion before his death in January of 2018. Want to find out some more about IKEA? We've got you covered, Aluxers. Make sure to watch our 15 Things You Didn't Know About IKEA video. Number 11. Swedes invented a green fitness craze.
What does that mean?
Swedish people enjoy working out in nature and saving the environment, so it was only a matter of time before this happened. Apparently, what you have to do is jog, but also pick up litter on your way, and it's called plogging. The trend has even started to spread to other countries as well. Ploggers use the hashtag plogging on Instagram to promote this new type of workout. Apparently, they have succeeded in gathering communities of people all over the world that are committed to having
That's helpful. You got people just throwing shit everywhere.
Maybe next time you put on your running shoes, you might want to pick up that annoying plastic bottle on the sidewalk as well. Number 2. Sweden's national food obsessions are not so Swedish.
Really?
Another thing that Sweden is known for is its relative openness to receive and integrate immigrants. Swedes enjoy fika, a tradition that says you should take at least one break period per day to enjoy coffee and eating Swedish meatballs for lunch.
Hey, I can go with that.
The meatball recipe has come under scrutiny lately, since they are, well, not so Swedish. The recipe was brought from Turkey, which was then known as the Ottoman Empire.
Hey, I like the meatballs and the turkey, okay?
It was subsequently integrated in with the local cuisine along with a taste for really strong coffee. The president of the Turkish Corporation for Coordination Agency went on to say that IKEA should not sell the famous meatballs as if they were a Swedish dish. Number 13. It's illegal to spank children in Sweden.
We've had problems out here too, but it's just
says that 80% of Americans have admitted to hitting their young children, according to CNN.
We used to, and
it's not quite illegal to punish children.
The country was in a better
in the US.
place as far as behavior goes.
The one that's against corporal punishment, and the one that says it's okay to spank children from time to time. Sweden, however, was the first country to ban this type of punishment, considering it abuse. Nowadays, Swedish parents rarely hit children in any way.
Look at Portland, Oregon,
example has been
for an example of kids that weren't having their ass whooped.
There are also places where corporal punishment is prohibited, and it really seems to be working out great for them. The whole philosophy is that children should be disciplined gently. Hitting will only break trust between child and carer.
Bullshit.
And that will lead to
if you ever had a kid, you know that's a bullshit.
Such as behavioral problems. Number 14. ABBA is Sweden's most beloved export. At the height of their fame, ABBA was second only to carmaker Volvo as the biggest Swedish export. The band was so famous that it sold around 500 million records and were the biggest best-selling artists for the non-English speaking world. As Swedes, this is a huge deal since they topped the charts in the 70s in the UK, Ireland, Canada, and of course the US. And apparently what makes this band still insanely popular is the fact they're relatable, sweet lyrics, and music that was inspired by Swedish folk songs and bands like the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
I've probably heard some of their stuff, I just don't recall
to reunite after a 35-year hiatus and will release new music in December 2018.
I can't think of any actively, you know what I mean?
Number 15. The 3-point seatbelt is a Swedish invention.
Interesting.
We have a lot to thank Sweden for. ABBA, Skype, Spotify, the pacemaker, HIV tracker, and of course, the seatbelt. We take it for granted, but back in the day, it wasn't a requirement for cars, or at least it was less efficient during collisions. Safety engineer Nies Bolin was working in 1959 for carmaker Volvo when he invented the 3-point V-shaped seatbelt that is specially created to protect people during an accident. Thankfully, Volvo had made an open patent, which means that every car manufacturer had the right to use the design free of charge. Make no mistake, every car in the world uses it nowadays, and it probably has saved around 1 million lives so far, according to Britain's Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents. Now that was all for today, Alexers, but before you go, we're curious to know what you think. Does free education lead to a more innovative society like Sweden has? Please leave your answer in the comments. And as a thank you, as always, for sticking with us until the end, we have another fascinating bonus fact about Sweden just for you. Number 16. Sweden has to import trash.
What?
Sweden has a garbage problem, and it's not what you think. In fact, Sweden has run out of trash for recycling, and so has to ask for help from other countries to power its recycling plans. So, how did they end up with this situation? Well, it turns out they are so environmentally conscious, they have a pretty heavy taxation system for fossil fuels and powers half of its electricity from renewable materials. Since other countries like the UK have bans on landfills, they prefer to send it to Sweden instead of paying the fine for garbage. But at the end of the day, their recycling system is so good, they will surely be the first country to stop using oil products and welcome the new era of cleaner energy sources. Hopefully we'll learn from them sooner rather than later. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxer. Make sure to subscribe.
I think you can use both. You know, why do you got to ditch one for another? Because it creates another set of problems. Obviously, one of them is you got to import garbage. And then there's costs involved into this. And then if that system breaks down, you're screwed because you're your own country and you have to import something. What if things go sour? And that system's not sustainable. You're screwed because all your energy is dependent on that one system. It's a bad move. Just have many systems and don't trash other ones that you might not necessarily agree with. There's nothing wrong with oil. It's abundant and it's just not a fact that it gets depleted and it renews itself, and that's a fact if you have done any research. So that's something to consider. I'm sure nobody that's making policy is going to care about this video though that I'm doing here. Some of these things are interesting. I didn't know that about the seatbelt. There's a couple things I had no idea. There's some things I do think are pretty cool. That people try to keep it clean, picking up the trash, because you got Americans just running around throwing shit. Just out in the street near my house, we've seen a couple times someone just chuck a glass bottle out the window right in the middle of the street. And then the guy behind him pulls up and he's like, okay, he's got to get out and pick the shit up because he doesn't want to run over it with his tire, and cusses somebody out. This happens on a regular basis here. So it is unfortunate. Sometimes, shit happens. And a lot of this has to do with, people not spanking their kids. Okay. So, it might be illegal in your country, but, it's, that's what happens when it's illegal. Is kids don't grow up with any sense of direction. And, spanking is not needed for everything, of course. I mean, they made it sound like Americans are constantly beating their kids. We're not. It's a reserved thing, for, when the kid is just not responding to other, direction. They're refusing to listen. It's usually for kids that just want to push the limits and test it. And, I've been, I've been punished in that way, and it made you, as a kid, want to avoid it, by learning the lesson. So it's some bullshit that one right there. It's really is. And then of course the high taxes. It was one of the very first. I think it was the first thing that was mentioned. And then they said they had the nerve to say you got free education and free healthcare. How is it free? You're literally spending a hefty 30 some odd percent of those taxes. if you reach a certain point, and it's what 51% taxes for GDP. That's absolutely crazy. And you think that it's free? Come on, it's not logical. It's not free. You're paying for it in the taxes, so it's a trade-off. So you can't say you got free healthcare, free education. It's just not the truth. That money's got to come from somewhere, and it is. So, as far as we go in America, we don't have free healthcare and education, but we're paying the same thing ultimately. So it's not one or the other. It's taxation is theft. Just look at it like that. How did they build the streets back in the day when taxes didn't exist? How did they get stuff done? Private innovation, people helping each other. That's what got people through in the early days. And we just strayed far away from it. I think every country has a problem with this. And I mean, I don't know all the countries out there. There might be a country that doesn't have taxes whatsoever. Maybe I could find that, react to it. That'd be great. Anyway, if you disagree or agree with any of the things said on there or any of my comments, feel free to get in the comments below and let me know, or roast me for my opinion. I don't care. I've already got it from the Aussies because of my AFL reactions. So yeah, just do that. And make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification. Check out some of my other content. I appreciate it. I do some gameplay and reactions on this channel so far. I'm going to introduce some new content as it comes along in my life. But this is what I'm doing for now. And I look forward to seeing you again. Bye.